Hey everyone, Lone Wolf Jedi here, and today I'm going to give you guys a movie review. Actually, a series of movie reviews. Now, this is going to be part one, and it is going to be comic book movies that were released this past year, this summer, 2011. And there were actually four. I mean, in my opinion, it's like there's mainly four. I mean, a lot of people would say Conan was one, but I don't really think. No, Conan wasn't really all that popular until Arnold, made the movies of Conan the Barbarian. So I'm not really going to count this one. Okay, so let's get on with it. But first, I'm going to do the usual legal bullshit. The following is a private, personal review, and all images and uh, other stuff used is copyright their own companies. No copyright issues are intended in this video. Okay, now let's get on with the first one. Sorry about that. The first one is um, Thor, based on the popular comic book series of the same name from Marvel, and it stars Chris Hemsworth as Thor, the Norse god of thunder. Natalie Portman as the main love interest, and um, Sir Anthony Hopkins as Odin, the Zeus of the North gods, if you will. Now, basic, uh, basically, I'm going to give each one give like a little short summary of the film, followed by I'm going to go on to the next. I would say I'm going to give my favorite for each film. I'm going to give my favorite scene, and go on to the next one. The now, and I'm going to give my overall review or rank them from which one's the best, which one's the worst at the end of this video. Okay, now here's the quick short review, quick short summary of Thor. Starts off, Odin tells young Thor and his brother Loki about how he defeated the frost giants, um, and took the source of their power and stored it in a vault. Then we cut forward a bunch of years later. Oh, by the way, it actually at one point, I think actually no, it starts off it starts off there, and then it goes to we see many years later Natalie Portman and two people. One's supposed to be like a father figure who is played by Stellan Skarsgård, who you all remember as playing Bootstrap Bill in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Well, three of them at least. No, actually, I would say it's two. Yeah, two of them, second and third one. But and another person, I think it's this well-known actress. I don't remember her name, but it's a well-known actress. And they hit Thor. Well, then we cut back to just you know like about a few days before, and Thor is actually getting ready to ascend to the throne of ascend to his father's throne, and the frost giants come to take back their power when a guardian who oddly resembles Gort from the Day the Earth Stood Still, both versions, um, it just annihilates them. Um, then of course Thor goes to the frost giants, attacks the place, gets in trouble, gets sent back to Earth, goes around the Earth, trying to find his hammer, and it he ends up getting his powers back through a after a fight with I'm calling him Asgard Gort, so that's pretty much it right there. And he gets and he ends up falling in love with Natalie Portman's character. Um, at the end, he then goes up to Asgard, destroys the Rainbow Bridge, defeats his brother Loki, or does he? And he ends up finding out that through the Rainbow Bridge's gate guardian, who, even though the gate was destroyed, still works there, still stands guard, and he says that she's looking for him. Now, as with most Marvel movies, this had a little scene at the end. It had Bootstrap's character talking to Nick Fury, played of course by Samuel L. Jackson, coming across this thing of great power, and you see in the reflection it's actually Loki. And let's see, my favorite scene in this is when Thor is actually getting ready to grab the hammer and pull it out of a rock that, doing the whole sword in the stone thing. And he goes, and he's trying to pull it out when, he's heading to it. And you see a guy going up to grab some weaponry, and he grabs, instead of grabbing some kind of sniper rifle or something, he grabs a bow and arrow. And at that point, I'm thinking, no, it cannot be him. Let me tell you this: my favorite Avenger of all time is Hawkeye. You can say what you want, but my favorite is Hawkeye. And I have my reasons. So, he grabs a bow and arrow, gets on top of this thing hanging from a crane, like a basket hanging from a crane, and he's sitting there getting ready to. He's asking for the guy from S.H.I.E.L.D. for the word, and he tells him no, no, no. Then he just nope, doesn't do it, which is like a big lead up and then a big letdown. But I still liked it because it was Hawkeye. Next up, next film was X-Men First Class, which to me was probably the worst of the X-Men movies. Now you can say that the third Last Stand was worse, or X-Men Origins Wolverine was worse. No, I think X-Men First Class was worse. I mean, continuity issues were way off on this one. First of all, it's a story basically of how Eric Lesnar, aka Magneto, and Professor Charles Xavier, became friends and founded the Xavier School for the Gifted, and how they actually went from becoming best friends to bitter enemies. That pretty much, does that. That is actually continuity right there, but that is pretty much the only continuity that you have in this film. First of all, one continuity issue they have is I don't think Eric Lesnar's main nemesis throughout the entire thing was Sebastian Shaw. Sebastian Shaw in this movie was played by Kevin Bacon, and I think did a pretty good job. But another continuity issue, Mystique. Mystique, I don't think ever knew Professor Xavier, let alone be like an adopted sister, and she was never in the X-Men. I'm sorry, that is just major stupid continuity issue. And another original X-Men was Havoc. No, he wasn't. His brother, Scott Summers, aka Cyclops, was an original X-Man. The only person that I think that got right was Beast, Hank McCoy. And, that's because Hank McCoy was an original X-Man, if I remember correctly. And I'm a huge X-Men. I was a huge X-Men fan when I was growing up. I was into comic books when I was a kid. So, like I said, continuity issues were just way off on this one. And my favorite scene, when Xavier and Magneto are looking for people to take to the school, they come into a bar, and at the bar is Wolverine, played, of course, again in this one, by Hugh Jackman. They walk up. Xavier goes, "Hello, my name is Charles Xavier, and this is my good friend Eric Lesnar." And he goes, "Go fuck yourselves." that to me was just classic, classic Wolverine. Because you know Wolverine is gonna say something like "Shut the fuck up, get the fuck out of here" or something like that. But just like go fuck yourselves. Okay, bye. That was it, and that was just pure, to me, pure funny right there. Funny as hell. The funniest part and the best part of the movie. Um, Third one was Green Lantern. Green Lantern basically tells a story of how of Hal Jordan, played by Ryan Reynolds, became the Green Lantern. Okay, and joined the Green Lantern Corps. Basically, it covers it. Here's where one of the movies that I like. I liked Green Lantern because a lot of people look at, okay, we have Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively playing the main characters. I looked past that, and this movie was actually pretty good, in my opinion. I mean, they followed the comic pretty much to the letter. The only problem that they did have was that Hector Hammond was in no way, shape, or form associated with Parallax. And I know you're just going to say, oh, well, what about Sinestro? Yeah, Sinestro was a Green Lantern before he became known as the villain that we all know as Sinestro. Okay? And a lot of my favorite, a couple of voices in this I thought were really spot on. First of all, Tomar-Re was played by Jeffrey Rush, aka Hector Barbosa from Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Um, Another voice, Kilowog. Now you got a big, huge, hulking guy. Who are you gonna get to play that voice? Think hard. And I don't think these guys even thought that hard before they said Michael Clarke Duncan. Michael Clarke Duncan did an excellent job as Kilowog. Because his voice is just perfect for that. You gotta have someone with a deep sounding voice for him. And my favorite scene in that is concerning Kilowog. He he offers, Hal Jordan's going through his training as a Green Lantern, and Kilowog goes to help him up, and then punches him back down. Your enemy is not going to be so merciful, or something like that. I can't remember the line, but it's like, yep, that's basically how training would be. Um, like I said, this movie was pretty deep. This movie was okay. It was pretty good. And like I said, I look past the fact that Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively were in it. I mean, I'm not a big Ryan Reynolds fan. I'm not a big fan of Blake Lively either. But like I said, another thing I actually have with this movie and the other super and this is like with this one and Thor. What is it with people with Star Wars alumni being in these comic book movies? Let me elaborate on this for you. First of all, in Thor, Natalie Portman played the love interest. Now, as a Star Wars fan, I remember Natalie Portman playing Padme Amidala in the Star Wars prequel trilogy. In Green Lantern, we have Abin Sur, the one that the Green Lantern that died, giving his ring to Hal Jordan. He was played by Temuera Morrison, aka Jango Fett. I looked it up. It is him. So that's like one of those kind of things to me. The next film, and this is the fourth and last film that that was out for comic book movies, was probably in my opinion the best. Captain America: The First Avenger. Chris Evans plays, of course, Steve Rogers, aka Captain America. The only other recognizable faces I noticed were Tommy Lee Jones playing a colonel, and Hugo Weaving playing Red Skull. Now, Tommy Lee Jones, he was a great he can play a military guy, and he can do it pretty well. He's got that presence about him. And what is it with Hugo Weaving playing bad guys? The only time I haven't seen him play a bad guy was in Lord of the Rings when he played Elrond. I mean, he was Mr. Smith in the Matrix movies, and he was the voice of Megatron in the Transformers movies. I'm like, what the hell? I mean, this guy is a perfect. He is actually the perfect bad guy in my opinion. Someone says he's got those permanent devilish eyebrows or something like that, and I like, hey, you know what? If it works, go for it. um, so the whole thing goes like this. Chris Evans. Oh, here's another thing. Chris Evans actually this is the second time that he has played a comic book hero. A lot like Ryan Reynolds, who played Deadpool in Wolverine, and he then ended up playing Green Lantern first. Actually, he's the first one to play two different two comic book heroes from two different comic book companies. Just let throw that in there. But Chris Evans actually is the second time playing a comic book character. The first time he was actually Johnny Storm in the Fantastic Four movies. Look that up; it's true. Um, Now, however, in my opinion, he played a much better Steve Rogers Captain America than he did Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. Starts off, Steve is trying to get into the army, and he's scrawny. I mean, hell, I could beat this kid up. And when I was in grade school, and all the way into my second year in high school, I was a scrawny kid. Okay, you look at me now, you think, nah, you weren't. Yeah, I was. Believe me. Just like when my sister was in high school, she was actually pretty thin. She's kind of big now. I shouldn't have said that. Oops. Anyway, sorry, Michelle. Anyway, like I said, but here's the thing about when he tried to join the army, they kept on turning him down. He kept on using different names and different birthplaces. Finally, at this expo, I think it was a Stark Expo, done by Howard Stark, father of Tony Stark, aka Iron Man. He ends up going and doing another, joining the army kind of thing, and he comes across a scientist. And this scientist tells him, "You'd be perfect for what I want to do." So he gets in there, they put him in like this large pod, and it's a little small. He's like, it'll change. They inject him with a bunch of serums, and they help him with these rays, and he gets strong, fast, and I guess virtually invulnerable. He then they then tell him, okay, you're going to be you're like a guinea pig. We're going to find out what it's because after this whole thing, the doctor dies, and they try to find out what the whole serum that was made of, and that's what they wanted to do, but a senator decides, hey, I want him to do this, which is dress him up in a god awful outfit and parade in front of people, telling him, hey, you got to buy war bonds, kind of crap. And he got tired of that, and he found out that his friend Bucky was taken prisoner by the Red Skull. Goes in, tries to get him and a bunch of other people, and gets him out. They end up some of the people they saved end up forming a group, and they basically go in and wipe out a bunch of Red Skull's places. Finally get to his last place. Bucky down the way dies. I mean, Bucky, whatever his name is, ends up dying. Sorry, I had to give that away. And oh, and by the way, when he did this whole second part, he changed shield. The first shield was like this, like a regular looking shield with red, white, and blue. Then it went into the Captain America shield, the circular one that you can just toss. Oh, and by the way, the effects with tossing the shield were just incredible. He chases Red Skull to a plane, and the Red Skull gets on the plane, and he ends up getting off the plane somehow, where he ends up seeing Tommy Lee Jones' character and the main female character, the main love interest, and they rocket him. They rocket in a car, and they rocket the car. They find out that the car is some kind of fast rocket booster or whatever, and they get him on the plane. The plane gets heavily damaged, and Steve ends up realizing the only way he's going to save everyone and save the world is by crashing the plane in the Arctic. Yeah. Now I'm gonna quote Chester A. Bum on this. Now he knows how Christopher Lloyd felt. If you want to know, look up thatguywithglasses.com or some nostalgia critic video review of Suburban Commando. You'll see what I mean. So he crashes his plane into the Arctic. They end up thawing him out almost 70 years later, and he gets up. They try to ease it into him by him waking up, supposedly waking up in his own time, but they kind of fucked up. He wakes up and he's listening to a ball game that he actually went to. Yeah, that's kind of dumb. It was a Dodger game that was at Ebbets Field. Okay, since then Dodgers moved to LA. Ebbets Field was taken down, torn down. Believe me, I know. I'm a Dodger fan. Anyway, let's see. He ends up coming. He comes out and sees Times Square all, decked out like it is today. And Nick Fury comes up and says, "You've been asleep for 70 years, Cap. For almost 70 years, Cap. We need you, actually." He's like, what, to save America? No, to save the world. Or something like that. But he ends up, and of course, like most of the other Marvel films, at the end of this one, you see him punching a bag, and Nick Fury comes up to him and says, "Are you ready? Okay, what's this about?" And they show a trailer, an actual teaser trailer for the Avengers movie next year. I was like, holy fucking shit, I am so there. I actually made a video response, a response video to that video, to that teaser trailer. Go check it out. It's in one of my videos. It's like 2 or 3 videos ago. Check it out, and you'll find out how I feel about it. Now, another thing about Marvel movies is the founder of Marvel, Stan Lee, always likes to do what I call pull a Stephen King, and that's basically appear in the films. I didn't see him in X-Men Origin. I didn't see him in X-Men First Class. I tried looking at it. I didn't really find him. I'm glad, because that movie was crap. He was in Thor as a guy who was trying to pull a hammer out with his truck. He was in Captain America as a member of the military in the audience when they announced Captain America, and I was like, "Oh, there's Stan. Yep, there's Stan." And basically that's how it is right there. My my general opinions about all of them are this: Thor, it was decent. X-Men First Class, crap. It wasn't worth my time. I mean, thank God I saw it for free because I would not want to pay the $10 or $12 for that film. Green Lantern, like I said, look past the fact that Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively are in it, and it's a pretty good film. Captain America, best of the four. That's all I can say. If I was to rank them, it'd be the first one would be the top. The best one would be Captain America. Number two and number three would be kind of a tie, kind of a bit of a tie. It would be Green Lantern and Thor, and bring up the rear would be X-Men or X-Men First Class. Like I said, crap. It was just it. Continuity issues were just terrible. Um, well, that's gonna do it for my first review on comic book movies. My second review, my other part two of these 2011 summer movies. Boy, I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of movies total this year. More movies this summer than I've ever had any summer in my entire life. And it's mostly because I can see, the place I work at has its own private theater, and I can actually see them without paying money for it. And most of these I took my youngest niece. Most of these movies I took my youngest niece to see. And anyway, I will be doing a review of the other movies. That's gonna be a whole lot of them too. I I gotta list them and basically do my video on that one. I might be adding the two that I'm going to be seeing this weekend. I plan on seeing Rise of the Planet of the Apes and The Change Up. But to be honest, I'm not really. I'm kind of iffy on doing the review on those two. Anyway, however, I have seen Soul Surfer, Super 8, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, Bad Teacher, Horrible Bosses, Cowboys and Aliens, and what's that other one that I saw? And The Help. Now, I know what you're thinking. What do you think of all those? You're going to just wait for Part 2, which will be coming soon. I plan on doing that. I'm really not sure if I want to add Rise of the Planet of the Apes and the Change Up to those two. However, I'm going to think about it, and I'm going to make this video. And I'm going to end this video actually right now. So this is Lowell Jedi saying thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time. Take care of yourselves.
You think you know me?